Let's move then into number 6. Transgender equity is really just the heading that I put there. There are 2 significant resolutions, D002 and D019. And both of these resolutions have to do with prohibiting discrimination against transgendered people in 2 different areas. 002 talks about prohibiting discrimination against transgendered people when it comes to having access to the discernment process for ministry. Okay, and D019 prohibits discrimination against transgendered people for any other office or lay position or office in the church. Okay, so 002, process for ministry, no discrimination against transgender people who want to get into a process of discernment. And then 019 for lay persons who are transgendered who want to have access at least to any other positions in the church. I think our bishop will tell you this came as a little bit of a surprise, and I trust for many of you as well who followed this. So Bishop, let's kick this one off.
Yeah, I was, I guess I really, so this really came onto my radar again about a week or 10 days before General Convention. I'm sure it had been worked on before, it just hadn't really appeared as something that was, the same-sex blessings one was a much larger one. And when it did, I thought, well, transgender, how do you define that? And just, I did what probably many of you would do. I typed it in on Google and just to see what would come up. And Wikipedia, which, you know, is not necessarily the most dependable resource, but it was like the first thing on the list. And as you read the article, the definition is much broader than merely someone who either cross-dresses or has a sex change operation. It's a very it's so wide-ranging that it's hard to know exactly what it means exactly. And so when I objected to this resolution, it was really on the basis of saying, you know, we don't even know what this is. And in fact, Gene Robinson stood up and said, well, even in the gay and lesbian community, we don't really know what transgender means. And so for me, again, similarly, it's like, you know, can we talk about this just a little bit? I did not, that it passed actually rather overwhelmingly. And so we're here. I don't know exactly what it means yet. Because both of the canons that were changed include the normal provision that says that this doesn't guarantee a right to ordination or a right to a particular thing. It just means that you can't be denied consideration, I think is essentially what it says. I guess the most important thing for me in all positions, lay and ordained, is that the people who are being called to those ministries are effective in their ministries. That for me is the bottom line for whatever it is. I don't know what all that means in relation to this yet. As I say, it was a bit of a surprise to me, and that's just really all I can say about it right now.
Deputies, anything to add on that? We good there? Mike.
Ministry happened to be one of the places that I was in the hearings and sat in on many of the hearings on ministry, and this was indeed one of the more charged hearings. There were a number of folks who came up who are transgendered. How many of y'all have met a transgendered priest? More people than I thought. More people than I thought. I had never met a transgendered priest until I went to General Convention. There were 5 or so there, and there were several transgendered deputies. And of course, this was legislation that was near and dear to their hearts, and they stood up and fairly passionately pleaded their case and said, please include this in here. We've been talking LGBT for a long time, and so I think that was the reason why it became such an overwhelming kind of a vote, that T for transgendered, when we heard their testimony was pretty convincing. Yeah, they knew where they were, even though we're not sure where they are, and we probably do need to continue to talk about that. So that's my experience with regard to that. Thanks.
Angela?
This is not so much a direct response to the resolution, but as I heard others speaking, it occurred to me that to help you understand the atmosphere at General Convention, if you care to go online and look at how votes went in either house, there are nearly 900 people in the House of Deputies, which can get to be pretty unwieldy. And there are, about 130, give or take, in the House of Bishops. And as I understand it, in the House of Bishops, they are at round tables in groups and have discussion in a little bit different way than discussion happens in the House of Deputies. And one of the other differences is, and it can sometimes come as a bit of a shock, sitting in the House of Deputies, we are looking at and hearing directly from people who are transgendered, gays or lesbians who are, in their states, the states they come from at any rate, legally married, and they're all right there in front of us, and coming to the microphone and speaking to us and allowing us an opportunity to listen and to hear from them. So it's just a little bit of if you go and you actually look at the margins by which some votes passed, that can be a part of that difference.